All right.
You guys ready?
Yeah. All right, Coach. Third day of spring practice. Now you're getting ready for a little hiatus here next week, but how would you evaluate your first week?
It's good. I mean, a lot of fun. Energy is good. Guys are learning a lot. You know, right now we're just trying to get the wheels on the track. For the most part, guys are learning a lot of new things, and everyone wants to think it's just offensive plays and defensive plays and special teams, but it's the drills, right? Getting from A to B, we're coaching transitions, just getting our culture squared away with how hard we need to practice and what the expectation is. So that's really what it's been this week, mostly what it's about, but it's been good.
You guys have had an opportunity to get some of the offensive system in, at least a little bit of it. What have you seen from the guys? Have they embraced what you guys are kind of teaching them so far this week?
Yeah, energy's good. I think the most important thing is getting the right effort and attitude. I know that's cliche, but we had that all winter, but it's a lot different when you are, talking about drawings and you're looking at film in meeting room with the time we have versus actually being on the grass and playing real football is very different. So working through those things, attitude and effort's has been pretty solid.
Coach, what's it been like to coach spring practice again alongside Coach Frost?
It's good. It really doesn't, that's normal for me. So it's been fun, and it's good to be back with Coach Frost.
Talk about how it is picking his mind offensively and working together to build this offensive team.
It's a good question. So where we're at right now, we're implementing a lot of the fundamentals, the base fundamentals. It's probably more about that than it is the scheme. So, there's layers to this thing, and right now we're on layer one. But it's been fun, and it's good to be with Coach Frost because he is that brain when it comes to offensive football. So it's great. It's fun.
You're coaching the tight ends as well. How do you see the tight end position kind of working with the offensive system that you guys want to implement this season?
Yeah, it's cool. The tight end position is unique because it's a guy that has to be able to do a little bit of everything. And most tight ends, whatever team you're on, whatever organization it is, each tight end probably brings one skill that might be better than the other. So we're really just honing in on the fundamentals of just base football, which end of the day, guys, that's blocking and tackling, running to and with the football. So we're working through those things. Each one of our tight ends has unique traits that might be different than the other guy. What we're looking for is a guy that can do something. And, for the most part, we got guys that have some unique traits, and we're trying to hone those in. But right now, it's just based on the fundamentals.
So to that point, how do you feel like in the film study and what you've seen kind of in the first few days on the field, how can maybe guys like Dylan and Kylan complement each other?
Good question. Both those guys are kind of in the same spot in relationship to learning our system. So again, just not to answer your question very cliche, but it does come back down to fundamentals. That's what we're harping on right now is the basic fundamentals of playing football. And for those guys right now, a lot of those guys know how to catch passes and get open, but it's blocking. That's a big emphasis that we put into our individual time right now is the technique of blocking a person in front of you. Today was the first day in pads. So I'm excited to look at the tape and see what that looks like.
Dylan Wade comes in with a decent amount of experience from Maryland. What do you like about his skill set, and how will that translate into this offense?
D Wade, just like the other guys, man, he's working hard and he's learning the fundamentals that we're teaching every single day, and he's getting better with it. But it's really only 3 days in, so pretty early. Got a lot of work to do.
In terms of fundamentals, what do you see from the quarterbacks?
Fundamentally, KZ does a great job with those guys, and he gets extra individual time during special teams. So those guys are also learning the culture of what we want the quarterback room to look like, what we want it to look like out on the practice field. So the fundamentals is one piece, and the next piece also is using the new technology that we have in practice, the coach-to-player system. For some of these guys, it's the first time that they've done it in our system, so that's all different. The fundamentals of that is also unique, and in each one of those things, very specific to the quarterback position. That's a learning process, and guys are working hard, and they're going to get there.
What is that called?
In terms of being a quarterback coach,
very similar to how he was as a player. Very even temperament. Doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. Wise beyond his years that way, and he does a good job with those guys and the culture of the quarterback room, and he's a fun guy to work with.
And that works well with your personality?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I'm too difficult to get along with, and the same thing with Coach Frost, so it's a good blend.
Steve, when you look at this offense, you've worked with Scott before, and that version of his offense. How much has this changed? You talked about it when we spoke with him a couple weeks ago, that it was going to be a little different, maybe not UCF fast as it had been in the past. How much has this offense kind of changed from what you've seen taking over and implementing things?
Yeah, good. Most important thing in football is playing to your strengths, and right now we're evaluating. We're getting the wheels on the track in relationship to fundamentals and finding out what we have. There's really no depth chart right now. Everyone has an equal opportunity to get reps. Everyone's getting reps because it's spring training camp. So when we figure out who the key playmakers are, and when we figure out what we're going to be best at, that's when we can lean into those things schematically. So where we're at right now, not 100% sure, but we're learning every single day and got a pretty good idea. But it's been fun just getting the base fundamentals in of our offense and got some pretty good ideas where it's going, but we're not there yet.
Is there kind of an ideal ratio of 12 to personnel to 11 in terms of how much you want to utilize things from base? And
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you want to have a ratio, and depending on the most important thing to me in relationship to balance is going to be getting the right players the ball enough, right? Spreading the ball around. So if we ended up being a more 11 personnel team than 12, great. But ideally, when you're at your best is when you can mix and match, not just personnel, but formations, schematic concepts, run to pass. You want to be very balanced in all those areas. Whatever the defense doing that week, that might change and alter the way that you adjust your game plan. And that's kind of cliche too. Like, we're going to try and do what our guys can execute when it comes to college football Saturday. Right now where we're at is base fundamentals.
When you look at the tight end position overall over the last couple of years, it's changed a lot. There's a lot more versatility, I think, at tight end. You can use them out wide outs, slots, and things like that. How important is that to maybe find that guy maybe who could kind of fill those roles? You mentioned these guys have different things, but how is it important maybe to get some versatility in that role?
Yeah, the more you can do to help your football team, the more you're going to play. I think that's pretty obvious. But guys that can do multiple things and do them well, they're going to play more. What it comes down to.
I know Dylan and Carolyn have kind of been known as more receiving tight ends. How is their blocking, and how is that coming along?
Same thing as earlier. Every day these guys are getting better with the fundamentals. But it's early. Today was the first day of pads. Once again, fired up to go see what it looks like. And it's some of the subtle details you see when you hit pause on the screen, hand placement, foot placement. We're going to go take a look at those things and then attack it when we get back off of spring break.
How did it feel today?
Anytime you're on on the grass, and we got real grass to practice on, it's beautiful. It's awesome. Weather's great. Fires me up to be out there with those guys.
You've worked with Coach Beckton before. What's it like to be able to bounce ideas back off of him?
Coach Beck, man, he's the legend. So yeah, he's in the same spot, and you talk to him, he'll probably say a lot of the same things. It's day one fundamentals. Listen, we got great effort and great attitude from these guys, but ultimately, it's still only day 3 of this system. We got a lot of work to do, and working with Coach Beck, extremely excited to continue to work through spring and then on to the summer and the next phase of fall camp into the season.
A few more. It's only been 3 days. Are you really seeing a little bit of growth from where you started Tuesday?
Just like anything, spring ball, I'm sure there's going to be some peaks and valleys when you have this break coming into it. There really hasn't been a ton of adversity. The hardest thing these guys had to do is alter and change their approach to practice because we do go a little bit harder. The tempo is upped, so it's been good for 3 days. Looking forward to see what it looks like when we get back from spring break.
Aside from the tempo, what do you think is the biggest learning curve from this system and this group of coaches, and what you're trying to bring to the guys that are either new from the portal or guys that are holdovers from the roster?
Yeah, no, good question. In relationship to the tempo, when I say that doesn't necessarily mean just going fast all the time. That's the transition from a drill to a drill. The tempo of practice is we're out there for 2 hours, maybe a little bit more or a little bit less than that, and it's constant. We script some TV timeouts and some half times, those kind of things, so the guys can get 2 minutes to relax and come to balance. But the reality is you're out there and it's one thing to the next thing to the next thing, because that's what a game is going to be like.
Coach, you and Coach Frost said that every position on this team has an open opportunity to earn the starting role, including the quarterback position. What do you think that these quarterbacks need to do or show? What traits to give them the best opportunity to earn that role?
That's a great question. Ultimately, the quarterback has got a million jobs, but to me the most important one is make the right decisions and make the guys around you better. Getting the ball to the right spot and then make the guys around you better. And for a guy that's running with the real young guys, quarterback, if you can make those guys better when he's out there, I notice that. We notice that as a staff.
All right, thanks Steve. Thanks everyone.
Thanks guys, appreciate you.
Thanks, Steve.